Everyone has something they wish they finished or experienced in their childhood. For me, it was a video game I saw on the shelf of Blockbuster. Blockbuster was such a different time. It was 2002 and I was 6 years old. I convinced my parents to rent this game by basically lying to them and saying that it was about taking pictures. Well, that's not exactly true. They're Asian and know nothing about video games, so they rented it for me.
I wonder how long it's been since my brother and I began to see things other people can't see.
But when I played it, I was too petrified. My older brother finished it, but I was so afraid that I didn't even watch him play. I would leave the room and hide behind our couch until the scary parts passed. I even had nightmares about it, especially the noises and the sounds. It's been 23 years since then. Holy shit, I'm old. I finally worked up the courage to play Fatal Frame. Well, it's because I'm also unemployed. Fatal Frame is a Japanese horror game where you use a camera to fight malicious spirits. Unlike Resident Evil or Silent Hill, this game is deeply rooted in Japanese culture, which adds to its impact. Temples and hints of Buddhist religion everywhere. I finally completed it, redeeming my childhood self, and man, this game holds up. Let's dive into how this game petrified me as a kid and became a cult classic among horror fans, and explore its unique combat and interactions. We'll also delve into its complex themes of grief, duty, and letting go. In most horror games, you fight monsters with weapons. In Fatal Frame, your weapon is a camera, the camera obscura. Camera obscura is a physics term that basically means a pinhole camera, at least this is what the internet says. We use an old camera that has a special mirror that damages your enemies. You fight ghosts in this game, and the closer the ghost, the more powerful your shot is. That means you have to let the ghost get dangerously close to deal maximum damage. But you also have to face it head on with this terrifying zoom lens the attacking position locks you in. You also have different types of film: blue, green, red, and yellow. They're all a type and there's a number behind it, but I saw them as colors like handgun, shotgun, sniper rifle, and magnum. Yellow is like the 50 cal for me, and you just save those for bosses. The environment is claustrophobic, so the zoom lens where you look at with the camera actually adds to the terrifying nature of it. You can also slowly move and aim around while in this state, kind of steadying your shot going through the rooms. The combat flow is a bit interesting, as you need to reposition and run through the cramped environments to make sure you get a good shot and that sweet damage. Enemy Encounters takes a book out of Silent Hill and uses audio cues, with a slight change of music and a blue light indicating that there's a ghost nearby or in the same room as you. The ghost variety and types all have significance to the overall story. We have various wandering monks, blind/long-haired maidens, distressed fathers looking for their children, and even the children that come and attack you, my least favorite ghosts, because ghost children are terrifying. You can tell which type of unsettled ghost they are by not only their attack patterns, but also what they chant or what they say while attacking you. You also have a couple of bosses like the priest people and the head of the family that uses katanas and ranged fireballs to attack you. I found the combat to be pretty tough for a 2000s game. I even had to replay a whole section of it because I just blew through all the good film I had and the healing items. And I found I just took so much damage. It kind of added to the experience through the survival horror aspect because I was picking and choosing how to use my items and choosing when to run from the ghosts. You can't even run from these ghosts properly. You open all of these doors painfully slow when there's a ghost trying to kill you. You just take unnecessary damage and they'll keep damaging you. If you have the film, you should definitely fight them, but if you want to run around, you can. I just wanted to say that this combat system was so close to being perfect and nailing a perfect balance between using the films correctly, the healing items, and the survival horror aspect of it, until I discovered that I can get unlimited film at the save points and that I can infinitely stun lock these ghosts as soon as I land a hit. It was so close to being perfect, but maybe they put that in so we don't accidentally soft lock ourselves. I kind of wish I took the infinite films out, but I'm also kind of a sadist when it comes to difficulties, so I completely understand it. Now, what really adds to the experience, however, all of the Japanese and Eastern designs, clothing, and even the shoji doors that you slowly peel open as you move throughout the mansion, searching for your brother, Mafuyu, and you start to discover what's happening to those who stay here or who's been disappearing, and it gets quite creepy and adds to the factor. Throughout Fatal Frame, you are in Himuro Mansion, and you spend a lot of time backtracking, going to the other ruins, and throughout you also gain more and more access to the depths of this place. Slowly, you are chasing after your brother's footsteps in his shadow, reading notes, listening to voice messages, discovering more about the mansion and how many lives this place has taken. I found that the mansion feels almost like a character that we're discovering and peeling back the layers, like an onion. As we uncover more about this mansion, we find that there are these rituals, tragedies, and a complicated family history using questionable, grotesque, and cruel methods to complete. And then you start to wonder, what was this and what was this setup all for? You uncover the story through the setting itself, but also reading and listening to notes like I mentioned being left behind. And my god, you gotta read in this game. You have to read so much. I wish these were read out in a voiceover, but the voice acting back then, and especially this game, wasn't the best.
Should I take a photo?
But it's charming. The other parts of the gameplay with the cool combat layout is that you have these puzzles. They can range from lining up symbols and looking at specific environments and solve the order of things, chop and changing stuff, which part was bloody first, things like that. These puzzles weren't exactly super hard or that challenging, but I think these were just mostly used to move the narrative across and tell a bit of the story through the environment, like I said, and encourage listening to these voice messages and all the notes you come across. Because you were using these notes and even using the dates of where the calamity happened or when the strangling ritual was. These are pretty much reused throughout in each and every segment of the nights, and I really wish I took more advantage of the creepy aesthetic, but it had served its purpose for me to get invested into the story. But yeah, I mentioned a couple things, like the strangling ritual. You got some unique names on some of the story beats, but it basically boils down to the Himuro family completes a series of rituals with some Buddhist spice to seal the door to hell that the mansion has been living on top of. They do these rituals to pick a shrine maiden, and this shrine maiden is picked from a young age from someone being blinded and playing demon tag, and then they are sealed away until they're old enough for their limbs to be pulled apart to make a seal for the hell door. Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? Well, we come in because the last time they did the strangling ritual with the chosen rope maiden, her name is Kyrie, it didn't work because she didn't want to do it. Of course she didn't want to. I mean, she didn't want to because she fell in love with someone that seemingly looks like your brother Matthew. And so when that happened, a big explosion-like event happened called the Calamity, which made vengeful spirits and the head of the family literally were killing everyone, and then himself to make sure hell didn't escape. But Kyrie was seeking vengeance against those who were able to live a normal life, frustrated that this sense of duty and responsibility was forced onto her. Yeah, I know it's a lot. You can see why so many people were going missing. Well, it's funny because the whole reason this game even exists is that Miku is looking for her brother, but her brother is looking for what happened to his boss. Well, his boss was there because he was looking for what happened to other riders. Well, the riders were also there because people they knew went missing, and yeah, you get the picture. I think what Fatal Frame does do right here is that the sound design is well done to instill fear with a hint of mystery behind it. I'm such a big fan of the ambient noises where when nothing happens, it's the most scary. Huge fan of the slight gong, radio noises, or that happen when a ghost is nearby and you have to bring out the camera to see what it is. And more often than not, it does add to the narrative of the types of poor souls that are trapped in the mansion, left constantly to harm those who wander in here. You discover more that all of this has started because the recent shrine maiden wanted to live her life and experience love, which then messed up the ritual, creating two sides of her where one seeks vengeance against the family who keeps killing the rope maidens, while the other we get a side of her who is a little girl wanting to give peace and fulfill her duty eventually. What I really like about this is that it does involve quite a bit of traditional Japanese culture, which adds a bit of creepiness with how they take the old ways of fulfilling your duty despite the traditions of the Himuro family being horrifying, grotesque, and scary. What makes Fatal Frame so haunting isn't just the ghosts, it's why they're there. And to fully understand this, we look at the game's setting. While Western horror often leads into the blood, violence, and the grotesque nature, Japanese horror, especially in the early 2000s, was something else entirely. It was quiet, slow, unnerving, less about the monster you see, and more about the anticipation, and knowing the story is what makes it really unsettling. But Fatal Frame makes these so scary with the setup, this tragic backstories, and the overall atmosphere. I found the game pulls heavily from Shinto and Buddhist beliefs, particularly the idea that the boundary between the living and the dead isn't exactly solid. In Shintoism, spirits are yurei. I definitely butchered that, I'm sorry.
Yurei.
often remain tethered to the world because of the strong emotional trauma, such as grief, regret, and even shame. These spirits don't just haunt, they linger until they're actually acknowledged, purified, or even forgiven. And that's why the ghosts in Fatal Frame aren't just random enemies. They're individual tragedies. Each one has a story, a name, a reason. They were people. Yeah, the enemies do repeat, but it's a testament of how many this mansion has claimed. When you take photos, you can see the decrepit and sad state of these ghosts, and what's keeping them in the real world is way more scary, even for a game set in the early 2000s. The entire setting of the Humiro mansion feels like cursed relic of these traditions. The strangling ritual, the blinding ritual, the demon tag ceremony, they're horrifying and also deeply rooted in some Japanese long-standing relationship between death, sacrifice, to maintain balance, and doing one's duty. These invented rituals feel plausible because they echo real historical practices of isolation, sacrifice, and spiritual purification, but just cranked up to 11 for a little bit. Miku, the protagonist, isn't your typical hero like in Resident Evil, not an ex-cop or trained in any other military training.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
She's quiet, emotionally reserved, and carries a deep sense of duty passed down from her mother and her time at staying at the mansion. All traits align with traditional feminine ideals in Japanese storytelling, but that's also what makes her powerful. Her empathy is her strength. The camera that we use doesn't just capture the spirits, I think it seeks to understand them. It forces us, the player, to face them, and the only way to survive is by looking these tragic events right in the eye, acknowledging them, and looking for a pathway forward. Something these tortured souls couldn't do. The idea that resolution comes not through destruction, but through acknowledgement, through mourning, and through acceptance. Fatal Frame doesn't want you to defeat the evil, it wants you to witness it, document it, feel its weight, acknowledge the tragedies that follows when doing your duty, and also carry it with you. I believe in ghosts and aliens, and I thought it was really cool how this game incorporated some of the Japanese culture into this. Even if you don't believe in spirits, the setup of Fatal Frame itself might just sway you to do so.
Don't worry about me. You must go.
At the heart of Fatal Frame lies something more painful than any jump scare or ghost encounter. It's the burden of duty. Things that you have to do, forcibly or even expected of us. And through Miku, we experience what it means to carry that burden completely alone. From the opening cutscene, Miku isn't just searching for her brother, she's walking into the depths of trauma, his, hers, and those of the Himuro families. She doesn't wield an actual weapon by our standards, she doesn't crack jokes or even scream for the most parts, maybe just a big gasp with the quality of the voice acting. Unlike many survival horror protagonists, Miku's strength isn't in her resilience, it's in her willingness to feel. The camera that we use to fight the ghost is an object as a means to acknowledge those tortured souls, or to maybe even give them peace for them to move onto the afterlife. Every shot she takes is an act of empathy, seeing the pain, the history, the lingering grief of the spirits around our characters. I mean, after we fight some of the ghosts, their last lines literally help us progress in the game.
The mirror. The mirror. One more Buddha statue.
Miku also experiences some empathy forcefully when the rope ritual binds start appearing on her wrists, ankles as the nights progress, symbols of Kyrie, making Miku one of the rope maidens per se. Where the original strangling ritual demanded violent sacrifice to contain evil, Miku brings a softer form of resolve, the acknowledgement, compassion, and the release. Miku throughout this story is facing the possibility that her brother is gone, dead, like so many others in the mansion. Not a recklessness or revenge, but out of duty to see if her brother is able to be saved and also to confront her past. Rooted in her quiet desperation to find Mafuyu, but a deeper duty to those who were forgotten, to the ghosts that were once people, to those trapped in the cycles of pain because no one remembered them or even wanted to listen to their story. But also this is for good reason. Everyone was dying and disappearing and being claimed by the mansion itself. And then comes the final choice. Miku doesn't really get a happy ending. She doesn't save the day in the traditional sense, the sun rises, the birds are singing. Instead, she survives by letting go of her brother, of the ghosts, and the weight of the memories of her mother and what she's experienced in the mansion. Can I just say that it was a bit of a goofy decision that Mafuyu just randomly decides to die to seal his entire soul away with Kyrie.
I must stay.
What are you saying?
What?
I think I can help her.
Man, her personality must be just that good. However, there is an alternate ending when you beat on the hardest difficulty where Mafuyu escapes with you, but you're left feeling that his mind has never truly leaves the mansion. Anyways, the canon ending is that he chooses the ghost girl over living, which is fitting for his character and the themes of this. I guess. It's about acceptance of death, of unresolved grief, and the fact that not all stories just end as happily ever after as we'd like. That's why the ending just hits a bit harder than usual, because Miku just doesn't escape the haunted mansion. She leaves a piece of herself behind, the part of her that needed everything to make sense for her. Miku walks out with scars on her soul, and I think this is why Fatal Frame is so haunting. Not because of the actual fears and the jump scares, because there really isn't any, but because of what they represent. The people we can't let go of, the pain we hold on to, the rituals we ourselves create, whether spiritual or personal, to make sense of loss. And through Miku, the game asks something quietly profound. Can you face what you've lost? And can you let it go? I kind of did it. I finished Fatal Frame, a game that I was too scared to play when I was 6 years old when it came out in 2002. In America, I know it came out in 2001. The US version had this horrible cover. On reflection, it's a meditation on memory, grief, the human condition. It doesn't rely on the cheap jump scares, but builds a lingering sense of dread that stays with you. It's a game that doesn't just want to be played, it wants to just be remembered. And I think it kind of did. I mean, we got a few sequels to actually eventually go through. Hopefully the combat gets a bit better, maybe a bit tougher or anything. Every time I mention this to my friends or survival horror fans in general, everyone remembers using a camera to capture ghosts and using it as a weapon. It was kind of cool. I still find older games or retro-esque, I know it's weird calling 2000s retro now. It has a lot of weight to it, and there was a lot of more, I guess, personality when it comes to it. Right now on Steam, there's a lot of early access games, Phasmophobia or whatever, that uses jump scares that they come out all the time, but building games that have a lot of story and a lot of reasons to be unsettling but also carrying a cool life lesson is, I don't know, I feel like it's pretty rare nowadays. Now, I'm just happy that I conquered my childhood fears. I mean, I was 6 years old, but maybe you guys are more brave than I am. Pretty keen to play the other Fatal Frames down the track. If you guys did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. It helps me out tremendously and I can make more videos like this. And if you want to do something more and, above and beyond, please consider visiting my Patreon and also joining as a member there. Post scripts, I post early drafts, things like that. I hope to see you guys on the next video.